Thanks for tuning in to the Todd Allbaugh Show. We're going to kick off in a little less than a minute here on Monday, March 31st, the day before the state Supreme Court election. Make sure to silence your phone, Todd.
Yes, thank you. Good calls, Alvers.
And we got 30 seconds.
Thank you.
Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with the fantastic Mr. Aaron Zommers. On the board, it is 6 past the hour of 12 noon on this Monday, March 31st, 2025. Back to work, back to school. Glad to have you along from our world headquarters here in downtown Madison, Wisconsin. Mr. Zommers, happy Monday to you. How the heck was your weekend?
Happy Monday. I had a good weekend. I stayed home. Yeah, I think I just stayed home, but it was good. I needed some time to just relax.
Good for you. Good for you. I got out, took a little walk. My friend Kristen, my former colleague at LL Bean, both outdoors people, and we walked from downtown all the way out to Picnic Point. It was a lovely Saturday morning, had some coffee, chilled out, and then I worked on the show a little bit, watched some basketball. Many of us, our brackets are busted. Michigan State was my team to win it all. They're gone. And for the first time, I think in like 15 years, all 4 number 1 seeds in the tournament are in the Final Four next weekend. So congratulations to all of them who won. Let's see if I can do it off the top of my head. Auburn and Florida, Duke and Houston are all in the Final Four next weekend. So looking forward to that. Also, Daniel Freitag, big recruit for Greg Gard, the Wisconsin Badgers, a year ago from Minnesota, 4-star recruit, announced this morning he is in the transfer portal, in the portal. Not a surprise to me, nor is it unexpected. He just did not get a lot of time this year. The guard position, or the point guard position, was going to open up for him this year, but apparently it's decided to go elsewhere. Badgers appear to be building now around John Blackwell and Nolan Winter, who are kind of the key people have already said for the Badgers they'll come back. So we'll see this basketball news this morning. We'll talk Milwaukee Brewers for those watching on the stream on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. I have my Milwaukee Brewers Bob Uecker jersey on today, my Milwaukee Brewers mug in my hot little hands, and the Brewers kick off the home opener this afternoon right here on the Civic Media Radio Network. 105, the tip-off, same used to basketball. 105, the first pitch. You can hear the game over the air, terrestrial radio, as it's called, on Richland Center, Amory, now in Hayward as well, and Racine and Kenosha. Did I get them all? Oh, and Oshkosh as well.
Yes, I believe so.
So
I think
Oshkosh, that's everything. So those stations will cut away here very shortly to go to that pregame show. Our show will remain on the stream, on the Civic Media app, and also, over the air, over the non-Brewer stations as well. And stick around. Big show for you today. Coming up here a little bit in this hour at 20 after, Judge Susan Crawford, candidate for the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Of course, the election is tomorrow. Early voting is over, so if you missed that, I have my I voted sticker on. Zombers got, we voted together, just like we told you we would, after Friday's show, right down the street here at the Madison Central Library for early voting in Madison. Early voting over. So if you have not voted yet, you're going to have to do so starting at 7 a.m. tomorrow. And it goes until 8 o'clock tomorrow night. Remember, in Wisconsin, you can register at the polls on Election Day. Lots of important things, not the least amongst them, the Supreme Court race, the superintendent for Department of Public Instruction, statewide referenda, and local races as well. So be a voter. If you have not voted, vote tomorrow. Of course, Civic Media will have complete coverage starting at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. Our friend and colleague, political editor Dan Schaefer, will be here on the anchor desk with me and Zommers in the booth as always, and our great fleet of Civic Media news folks around the state bringing you reaction from across the state at the many watch parties by the candidates as well. So Susan Crawford will be here today at 12:20. And then also at 106, big Zommers. Rarely do we get this kind of guest all in one day. Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez on the show at 106 today. She will be in as well, talking about the spring election and what's going on in terms of the governor and lieutenant governor's office as they approach the new biennial budget with the state legislature. And then at 1:30, if you're feeling out of sorts for a Monday,
Discombobulated, if you will.
have we got a cure for you? The founder of the Recombobulation Area, our chief political editor here at Civic Media, our very own Dan Schaefer, will be sitting here right next to me in the studio today to talk about this referenda coming up, which has gotten not a lot of play. We'll explain why it's probably going to pass, why I at least believe it shouldn't, and we're going to do a crossover today. What that means, there's no dressing involved, by the way, in a crossover show. But there is, what you do is you start the show, you start a block on one person's show, and you end it on the next. So Dan Schaefer is going to be here for our show, the last half hour at 1:30. And then Dan, the next hour at 2 o'clock, he's filling in for John and Gordy in the afternoon, who's filling in for Maggie Dawn, who's on vacation.
But she'll be back tomorrow.
Oh, will she? All right,
believe.
very good. So anyway, Schaefer is filling in for John, Gordy is filling in for Maggie, and I'll be on that show. And let me tell you, Dan Schaefer has a star-studded group of people coming up at the 2 o'clock show with Ari Berman is amongst Angela Lang, Ben Wickler,
Ooh.
and then you got me. So I'm just there to make cocktails for people. So
You've got a stocked 4 hours of radio
it's
today.
a stocked 4 hours of radio, you understand? So, and also in amongst that, if that wasn't enough, you say, Todd, 1, 2, 3, we want more. Just like a UW hockey game, we've got more for you. In this show today, we are going to wedge in and sneak in a couple of giveaways. And the 1 o'clock hour, our Break into Spring Text to Win contest giveaway. Today, we're giving away a vacation, an overnight stay, as they say, at the beautiful Chula Vista Resort in Wisconsin Dells. So we'll give that away in the 1 o'clock hour. And also, in this hour, we are going to give away 2 tickets for this Friday night for the new movie, well, not so new anymore, but still a great movie, the documentary called Just a Bit Outside the Story.
Just a bit outside.
There you go, Euchre. Just a bit outside the story of the 1982 Milwaukee Brewers. Of course, it debuted in Waukesha last year. It has gotten a 100% positive rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It is now out on DVD. And on Friday, very excited about this, on Friday, sitting here in this studio at this desk, Kelly Call and Sean Hanisch, the producers and director, respectively, of the movie Just a Bit Outside. The show is sold out as far as I saw last time. The theater's sold out for Friday. And this is very important because people get salty. Well, why did Todd get tickets for his show? I bought the tickets myself. There was no Civic Media money involved. This is right out of Todd's bank account because I love you, the viewing and listening audience. It's my little gift to you. So stay tuned this hour. And Zommers, have we got that clip of Euchre singing? Now listen to this, because listen to what we're going to play right now. Here we go. Here's Euchre from a few years back singing "Take Me Out to the Ballpark" during the 7th inning stretch down at Wrigley Field at the Cubs game.
All right, let me hear you, folks. A 1, a 2, a 3. Take me out to the ball game.
So, not now, but be listening this hour. And the next time you hear this being played, the next time we play it, all right, turn it off, Sommers. Next time we play it, we're going to take caller number 8. Not now. We'll tell you when. But when you hear that music or that cut of Euchre singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" again, caller number 8 will win 2 tickets to just a bit outside. The story of the Milwaukee Brewers movie in Madison is being shown at the UW-Madison campus as part of the Wisconsin Film Festival. So make sure you could go Friday evening, Zombers. If you could look it up, please. I believe it's 7 p.m. on Friday night. Make sure you could go if you call in and win. And we will, Zombers and I are going. We'll see you there. Why number 8? Well, I'll turn around. Here you go for those watching on the old stream.
It is Bob Uecker's original number.
There it is. That's Bob Uecker's number when he was a player. So that'll be the 8. So when you hear Uecker singing again, be caller number 8. Not now, but when you hear the music played. Zombers?
And it looks like it is 5:30.
5:30. Okay, good. See, all right, good. We mentioned that. I forgot. So 5. Make sure. See, it's early. So make sure you can get off work because we don't want to give these tickets away and then not have you show up. And we'll have your name and email and phone number. So I'll be very upset. So make sure you can be there. 5:30 on Friday. When you hear us play later this hour, Uecker singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," be caller number 8. I'll give you the number, but don't call now. The number to call later is 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. Don't call now for those tickets, but only the next time you hear the Milwaukee Brewers "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" being sung by Bob Uecker. All right, let's get at this quickly. Going to have Judge Susan Crawford on next. Big race coming up tomorrow, April 1st, for the Supreme Court race. In Green Bay last night, pseudo-essential president of the United States, Elon Musk, was in Green Bay giving away $2 million plus to people who paid $100 to sign this petition for allegedly being against what he calls activist judges, unquote. And Elon, if you don't think there's an agenda, listen to Elon Musk in his own words when some yahoo last night in Green Bay at this thing talks about ending the Federal Reserve. Here it is from last night.
On behalf of America, for the idiots you have to deal with for what you're doing for us to improve our country. Second of all, my question is, what is your opinion on the Federal Reserve, and do you have any intentions of doing anything with them?
And the Fed. Yeah. I don't know. I always wanted to say that, you know. But I mean, I think there's like 20,000 people that work at the Fed. Seems pretty high. It's like there's a lot of people that work at the Fed, and it seems like, why do we have so many people at the Fed, and what do they do? And you know, sometimes I wonder which one would win. You know, the federal for interest rates, the board of the Federal Reserve, or a magic 8-ball. And I'm like, I think the magic 8-ball might win. You know. So then I'm like, well, Magic 8 Ball is a lot cheaper. You know, it's like you shake it, it says, check back again later. I'm like, okay. Same thing.
All right, let's go off Air Zombers for now. But there in his own words, Elon Musk last night in Green Bay campaigning for Brad Schimmel, saying that he wants to end the Federal Reserve. If you don't know what that is, it's the central banking system for the United States. Says why not just use a magic 8-ball to make those decisions? You don't think there's a lot on the line for tomorrow? Come on back. We'll be talking to Judge Susan Crawford, one of the 2 candidates on the ballot tomorrow. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show for Monday on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Listens real news and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX.
Hey, hon, have you been to Sugar River Pizza in Sun Prairie yet?
Oh, yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I know. I love the pizza.
Pizza is ridiculous. That crust.
Right, and they have
48 beers on tap and a great selection of wines.
And the atmosphere.
Not only is the restaurant gorgeous,
that room with the giant
windows that open, and they won a Best of Madison Gold Award this year.
I love Sugar River
Pizza on Cabela Drive in Sun Prairie.
You took the words right out of my
mouth.
Yep. sugarriverpizza.com.
Oh, so you have heard of it.
Streaming TV is where it's at. It's not about cutting the cord anymore. It's all about your customized TV options. With the best and cheapest high-speed internet and your own TV subscriptions, we've got your dream TV lineup. Between wired and satellite internet and TV, save money and get more internet speed and better TV today by calling the Whole Home Connect.
800-217-9129. 800-217-9129. 800-217-9129.
I'm Dan Schaefer. Let's recombobulate. In the race for Wisconsin Supreme Court, so many issues are on the line, from reproductive rights to redistricting to even just basic checks and balances. For right-wing candidate Brad Schimmel, though, one issue deserves more scrutiny, and that's his record on opioid settlements. Here in Wisconsin, it seems like we all know someone who has been directly affected by the devastating opioid addiction epidemic. As Wisconsin's Attorney General, Schimmel refused to join multi-state lawsuits taking on opioid manufacturers. We now know these settlements are having a major
got about
impact.
30 seconds.
Cool,
New
thank you.
research shows that overdose deaths are declining significantly in Wisconsin because of funding from these settlements. You have to wonder if things might be unfolding differently.
Pursuing truth wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Glad to have you along. 21 now past the hour of 12 noon on this Monday, March 31st, 2025. Big election tomorrow. No joking, no fooling, even though it is April 1st tomorrow. Big election tomorrow. Lots of things on the ballot. I would argue probably the most important, consequential, is that for Supreme Court of Wisconsin. Joining us now via phone, we appreciate her taking the time to do so, is one of the two candidates for Wisconsin State Supreme Court. Judge Susan Crawford joins us via the phone. Judge, good afternoon, and thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule.
Yeah. Hey, Todd. Happy to be here.
Right up front, because we don't pull punches on this show, I want to be clear that I'm a former Republican. I no longer belong to any particular party, but I have talked on this show. You can't see it because you're on phone and I'm on StreamYard here. Zomers and I both have our I voted stickers who went and voted early on Friday. I want to be clear with everybody. I did vote for you on Friday. We have also extended on this network and on this show the opportunity for Judge Schimmel, Brad Schimmel, to be on this program as well. Oddly enough, he has not taken us up on that, but I want to be clear, lay the groundwork up front, but we're glad to have you along. Yesterday in Green Bay, Elon Musk was there giving away $2 million checks and campaigning for your opponent, Brad Schimmel. We played the cut right before you came on, Judge, of Elon Musk telling somebody from the audience a question that he was in favor of ending the Federal Reserve, and seemingly only half-jokingly saying he thought a magic 8-ball could do the same thing. For those that don't know, the Federal Reserve is the central banking system of the United States. To my knowledge, there's nobody campaigning on your behalf that's suggesting that we end the banking system of the United States. Is that correct?
I believe that's true. What a weird thing for him to say at that event. But I guess he said a lot of weird things. I heard he also talked about the Matrix for a while and using monkeys to cure blindness or something.
Yeah, it's beyond bizarre, but unfortunately, there are very serious consequences to the election tomorrow. And I bring this up because, and again, I'm not a member of any political party, and as a former political operative, I'll say, ran a lot of campaigns. I'm pretty tough on people on both sides, and I have to tell you that watching the debate with Brad Schimmel, I thought you did a stellar job. I thought you were the alpha candidate. You answered the question directly, and I want you to talk about this right now on this show, because I think this is one of the things that people should vote on tomorrow, is who is going to interpret the law as it's written and call balls and strikes, because my former party used to be in favor of that. A question was asked by the moderators at your debate of, give us an example of when you made a decision from the bench that some of your supporters might not have liked? If you can give us an encapsulated version of that, I think this is instructive.
Yeah. So I talked about a case in which there was a legal challenge to some legislation that was enacted after Brad Schimmel and Scott Walker both lost re-election in 2018 in that lame duck period. So the legislature, very strong majority Republican legislature, stripped the Attorney General's office of most of its powers, or much of its powers. And there were legal challenges brought. One of the cases involved was in my court, and it had to do with the Attorney General's ability to settle cases. And the legislature said, nope, we now have the authority to settle cases. You got to bring it to us. So, just from a policy perspective, I thought that was a pretty raw deal, that this authority that the Attorney General had for literally decades suddenly was too much, since the office was switching hands and there was a Democrat coming into the Attorney General's office. But I upheld most of that law when it was in my courtroom. There was a piece of it that I said in certain categories of cases, this is a separation of powers problem. But for the rest of it, I said the legislature has the authority to do this, even though I don't like it. So that's what I do. I thought that was the law as it's written.
I thought that was a great example of the kind of judge you've been. And one of my former bosses used to say, Todd, if you want an indication of someone's future performance, look at their past performance. And when it came down to it, you basically, I'll put it in layman's terms, you supported Robin Vos and the Republicans in the legislature over Tony Evers in a lot of that decision. Even though you might not have liked it, you interpreted the law the way you thought it should be. Now, I'm having my hot little hands here. A door knocker that was left on my dad and stepmom's door in Shawano, Wisconsin, has Donald Trump's picture on it. It says, President Trump is winning for our country. And it says liberal judges across the country are trying to stop him. Vote April 1st for it says your opponent. My point is, here's a guy who is campaigning to uphold Donald Trump's agenda. Again, compare that to you. I don't know I haven't seen anywhere where you're trying to support Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, or anyone else's agenda.
Right. That is absolutely true. It's not the role of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court should not be promoting anyone's partisan agenda. And unfortunately, Brad Schimmel has been saying that he wants to be part of Trump's support network on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. He misunderstands the role of the courts.
Another indication of people want to know voting tomorrow for a Supreme Court justice. Over the weekend, we don't have time to get into it, but essentially Elon Musk gave away $2 million. Josh Call, Democratic Attorney General of Wisconsin, went to the Wisconsin Supreme Court to try to stop it. That case originally went to your court, random assignment. You could have ruled on it, but you recused yourself.
Right. That's right. It's, the case was just too close to home. I'm a candidate in the race. Elon Musk clearly was coming to the state to campaign for Brad Schimmel, even though Brad Schimmel won't admit that. And he was giving away those millions of dollars in an effort to try to buy votes for Brad Schimmel. I felt that was not a case that I could be fair and impartial is sitting on. So I did immediately recuse myself.
1 minute left, Judge Crawford. I'll give it to you. Give us your 1 minute pitch to voters in Wisconsin for tomorrow.
All right. Thank you. So I'm running to interpret our laws and Constitution to protect the rights of Wisconsinites. That is what they're for. I'm not going to be pushing any kind of a partisan agenda. That's the other guy. That's what he wants to do. So if you want to make sure we still have a Supreme Court in Wisconsin on Tuesday night and not an arm of the Trump administration, I ask people to vote for me.
I really appreciate it. About 20 seconds left. Just really quickly, how's your family doing?
I got too fast.
Because no, it's fine. I mean, how's your family doing? These things are never fun for family people.
Yeah. They're everybody is holding up. This has been a tough race, and I will say that my mother in particular is really ready for those ugly abs to be done. That's been tough on her.
I can only imagine. Thank you so much for taking the time. Be safe on the campaign trail. Good luck tomorrow, and thank you for spending time with us, Judge Susan Crawford.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Todd.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Local radio for you
I think it
and
ended.
your
I mean,
community.
it ended pretty
It's
much.
Civic
Yeah.
No,
Media's
it
mission
ended
with
at a good
stations
time, and
across
then-
Wisconsin. Find your favorites at civicmedia.us.
You're listening to the Midwest Farm Report. I'm Stephanie Hoff, along with you on a Monday. Wisconsin relies on potash to get potassium to crops. Most of that supply comes from Saskatchewan. With recent retaliatory tariffs on the U.S. from Canada, it puts uncertainty on the potash market. Jerry Clark is a crops and soil specialist with UW Extension. He says the U.S. doesn't currently have strong potash infrastructure to support itself.
Most of the potash comes from the southwestern part of the United States. So you look at New Mexico and Utah as being some of the more higher production areas. Again, we only use about 1% of that across the country. So it's going to take a lot to ramp that industry up to get what we need. Once we get enough potash in the system, I think we should be able to keep up. But once we see these changes from a policy standpoint, that's where markets can react a little bit and see maybe potash has jumped a little bit in a few dollars per ton increase.
Extension specialist Jerry Clark reminds us that most potash has already been contracted out.
LA Tom
so he
says
doesn't
she's a real
project
judge
issues
compared to
around
the
getting
BS
potassium
candidate.
At least this year.
Yeah, how about
Stick
that?
around. Up next, we're talking about the farm news stories that stand out to you in just a moment.
There goes Pam Yankee across Wisconsin in her suburban truck. Thanks to Equity Livestock Cooperative, marketing your livestock, financing your operation, and supporting the livestock community since 1922. And to Cleary Building Corp. Cleary Building Corp. Built with pride before the shamrock is applied. Explore clearybuilding.com today. Keep up with Pam at MidwestFarmReport.com and on Facebook and Instagram.
Severe thunderstorms, tornadoes, floods. What you see in real time helps tremendously in the warning process. The Midwest Farm Report and the National Weather Service are recruiting citizen scientists to relay local
Hey,
weather
LA Tom. Good morning to you out there on the West
Vital weather
Coast. We're doing well.
also
Hope you are
plays
as
an
well.
important role in gathering climate information used in our daily agricultural workday decisions. Volunteer citizen scientists have been lending a hand for decades and thoroughly enjoy this very important hobby. To become a citizen scientist, visit wisconsinweatherwatchers.org.
Here at the Midwest Farm Report, we're dedicated to keeping you up to date on all things Wisconsin agriculture, and we're watching what stories stand out to you the most. Here are our top 3 stories from last week, and if you missed them, you can listen back at MidwestFarmReport.com. At number 3, we talked to UW-Madison Chancellor Jennifer Mnuchin
I
as
sent
Wisconsin's
you a
flagship
cut
university
from
feels
Trump
the
on Air
funding
Force
freeze.
One.
At number 2,
on
we
a
explore
third
how
term.
farmer-led watershed groups are bringing success to both clean water goals and farm businesses. And the top listened to story last week,
LA
the
Tom's
Department of
also
Agriculture,
asking
Trade, and
about
Consumer Protection
reaching out to
updates
Greg
us on the
Palast.
insect
No, not
surveys that
yet.
kicked
We
off during the
still
season. You can
Gotta
listen
get
to
through the
these top
election,
stories
LA.
at
Sorry.
MidwestFarmReport.com.
It's
I'm Stephanie
triage
Hoff.
around here, I'll be honest.
Your news, conversations, and a whole lot of fun. It's all on your local Civic Media radio station or the Civic Media app.
Sunny with a north breeze and highs reaching the low 40s. With clear skies tonight, we dip down to the mid-20s. And for tomorrow, sun to start, clouds increasing, and a wintry mix likely by early evening. Some thunder is also possible, and snow accumulations look like less than an inch. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. Right now, it's 38.
Robinhood Gold members can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. A very handsome reward indeed. With Robinhood
Unfortunately,
Gold,
we don't
your
have time for me to
annual
try and
IRA
get rid of the noise,
contributions are
but you
boosted
can still
by
hear what he's saying.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Plus, you also get APY on your cash and non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive a 3% IRA boost on annual contributions, sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rates subject to change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month
30
for 1 year
seconds.
from first match. Must keep funds in IRA.
They lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. 34 now past the hour of 12 noon on Monday, March 31st, 2025. Zommers on the board. Glad to have you along with us here to kick off your week. Big day for those watching on the stream, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, wherever you find us. Have my Milwaukee Brewers jersey on today. The Milwaukee Brewers mug in my hot hands. Watching on the screen here next to us, locally, Channel 3 is showing the Brewers today, so they're doing a big pregame show down there. You can hear the pregame right now on select Civic Media stations over the air. We cannot stream the Brewers because of Major League Baseball, but you can hear it over the air, as they call it, terrestrial radio, i.e. on your car, your truck, your van, your kitchen radio, your bathroom radio. Wherever you might have a radio, you can hear the Brewers right now, the pregame show in Richland Center, in Amory, now in Hayward as well. Home of Muskie 101. I think it was Muskie 101. Now I forget. It's Muskie 101, I think, is the FM station up there.
I think so.
That we now own. But it's not a Muskie. It's on the Buzz of the North, WBZH. That's where you can find the Brewers over the air up there. Also on Racine, Kenosha, and Oshkosh by gosh, WISS. Over the air on all those stations where the Brewers will air this year. And we'll be giving away tickets throughout the year to some of those games as well. And this hour, at some point this hour, when you hear Bob Uecker, the late, great Bob Uecker, singing Take Me Out to the Ball Game from a time down in Chicago, when you hear that next this hour, be caller number 8. Don't call now, but I'll give you the number. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Don't call now, but when you hear Bob Uecker singing Take Me Out to the Ballpark, be caller number 8 then. And if you are, you will join Zommers and I and a cast of thousands, or at least hundreds, this Friday at 5:30 for a screening of Just a Bit Outside, the story of the 1982 Milwaukee Brewers at the University of Wisconsin-Madison campus as part of the Wisconsin Film Festival. So make sure that you can attend Friday night at 5:30 in Madison, giving 2 tickets away next time you hear Uecker sing Take Me Out to the Ball Game. Many thanks to Judge Susan Crawford for taking time on the campaign trail to come on the show. I think she's done a great job, really. I mean, the campaign, it's first time statewide race. Campaign maybe got off to a little bit of a slow start, but I think she's done gangbusters since then and really been the most honest candidate, in my opinion. And I forgot to mention last segment when I was asking her about that one debate she had with Brad Schimmel. She answered all the questions. When they asked her, give an example of a decision from the bench where your supporters might not have agreed with you. And she gave that answer that, hey, when Evers got elected to beat Scott Walker, the Republicans in the legislature changed a bunch of the rules, basically, of how the governor could conduct his business. And she didn't agree with those rules. But it came before her court, and she ruled in accordance to the law, against what her personal beliefs were of whether she liked it or not. But she found, by and large, for the Republicans, because as much as it was sneaky and underhanded, it wasn't, in her opinion, illegal. I think that's the sign of exactly the type of person that we want on the bench, is someone who will rule the way the law reads and not for a political agenda. And also, she recused herself this weekend. She could have ruled on that case against Elon Musk from her own Dane County bench. And she said, no. This ain't fair because it affects me, possibly. So I'm going to recuse myself.
I think that's another big thing. That tells me a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, so does the other ruling, but that especially, when it comes to her race, it shows that, yes, she thinks she's the right candidate, but she's not going to try and cheat her way in.
Yeah, absolutely. And the important point of that first of her story during the debate, giving an example of where she ruled in a way that many of her supporters would have disagreed. They asked Brad Schimmel to do the same thing, and he took a powder. Pass. Nope, can't. Geez, nothing comes to mind. I can't think of anything. Now, if you can't think of a time as a judge when you ruled against your political partisan base, you might be a puppet of your political partisan base. And the irony, as someone who used to be a Republican, that party used to say, oh, we want judges who basically are not legislating from the bench. They're going to rule the way that the law is written. The legislature writes the laws, the governor, the executive signs them or vetoes them, and the judicial branch interprets those laws. That's the kind of judge Susan Crawford has been on the bench in the circuit court. And that, to me, is the best indicator of how she will be a judge on the Supreme Court. So if you're a rule of law candidate, and by the way, we didn't even get into again the fact that Brad Schimmel, he's the guy that said he thought the January 6th protesters, insurrectionists, who attacked law enforcement and Capitol Police, some of whom are right here from Wisconsin, who used pepper spray on cops. Brad Schimmel thinks that those people, in his words, not mine, quote, got a raw deal, unquote, and is perfectly supportive of the January 6th pardons given out by Donald Trump. Susan Crawford, not so much. She thinks that the D.C. courts did their job and supports the rulings that put those people who attacked law enforcement in jail. This is going to be really close, folks. Everybody that I talk to, from Trygve Olsen to others who know the numbers, who see modeling numbers, who understand this stuff much better than I do, tell me that this is within the margin of error. It is all going to come down to turnout. Some polls show that Brad Schimmel might be up a point going into tomorrow, but it's within the margin of error. So it comes down to you. And look, the weather is supposed to be getting nastier tomorrow afternoon in much of Wisconsin. If you have not voted early already, like Zommers and I, have a plan to vote in the morning if you can. Some parts of Wisconsin, the weather could start getting rainy and then even icy and snowy by the time the polls close tomorrow at 8. So get your vote in early. And look, I was going to say I don't care. I do care. But regardless, put it this way, regardless of who you vote for tomorrow, vote. I'm not someone telling, if you don't agree with me, guess what? I still want you to vote. Because that's your right as an American citizen. People have fought and died for that. Don't let them down. Go exercise your right, regardless of who you're voting for tomorrow, on April 1st. You can register at the polls. Make sure you have a legal form of ID. It cannot be expired. That is key. Well, I got a state ID or a driver's license or a passport. It's expired, but that should do. No, it won't. You can use a U.S. passport. You can use a Wisconsin-issued ID, a Wisconsin-issued driver's license, and a military ID. Register at the polls if you need to. For more information, you can go to myvote.wi.gov. myvote.wi.gov to find out the polling place close to you. Polls open at 7 a.m. and go until 8 p.m. If you're still in line when the polls close, stay there. It is your legal right. As long as you're in line by 8 o'clock tomorrow, you still get to vote. But don't put it off. Weather's going to be dicey. Vote in the morning if at all possible. 855-752-4842. Let's go out to Los Angeles, California. L.A. Tom, L.A., thanks for calling. What's up?
Yeah, Todd. First, I believe in my heart that Wisconsinites don't like cheaters and that they don't like BS. And, it just so happens that Brad Schimmel's initials are BS, just like Brian Stiles. So when you're going to the polls and you see that name, it's telling you exactly who they are. Also, which is very, very important, I think, for the country, this election is really going to show us does big money and dark money work. And it's also going to scare, if it does work and Wisconsinites don't show up, it's going to show why Republicans actually are a little bit fearful of losing their position because of campaign, contributions. Also, it's going to show Democrats to be afraid of the big money. And they may start making deals with the corporations and people like this. So if you're a person that really and truly is against money in politics, like I've said before, this is the Republicans' sandbox, and we just have to play in it, unfortunately. But we have really got to decide about money in politics and if one person can basically buy an election.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really important. So if you're a person that's against money in politics, then vote for Susan Crawford.
Thanks.
Because even though she's had to play in the sandbox, she really doesn't believe in getting money out of politics.
Yeah. Thanks, Ellie. Appreciate it. Be safe out there today. And very impressive, by the way, Susan Crawford. Very impressive candidate. But the way she's campaigned, done grassroots, can talk normally like a normal person, and has stayed traditional in not aligning herself directly with, any Democratic president. I don't see any of her literature like I've got right here next to me, Schimmel literature, that's aligned directly in saying he will defend Donald Trump. That's not who Susan Crawford is. LA is right. Vote for the rule of law. Vote for someone who's going to interpret the Constitution, the law as it is written. Susan Crawford. 46 minutes now past the hour of 12 noon. Making headlines over the weekend yesterday. And I get it. Much of what's out there, it's like, is this real? Is this not? I want to start something. We're going to finish it when we come back here in a couple of minutes. Headline, Trump won't rule out seeking a third term in the White House. Tells NBC News, quote, there are methods, unquote, for doing so. President Donald Trump did not rule out the possibility of seeking a third term in the White House, which is prohibited by the Constitution under the 22nd Amendment. Saying in an exclusive interview with NBC News that there are methods for doing so and clarifying that he was, quote, not joking, unquote. Trump said, quote, a lot of people want me to do it. But I basically tell them we have a long way to go. It's very early in the administration, unquote. A little bit later, he said to Kristen Welker of NBC, quote, I'm focused on the current, unquote. Trump added in some of his most extensive comments to date about serving in a third term, when asked whether he wanted another term, the president responded, quote, I like working, unquote. When asked to clarify, Trump said, quote, I'm not joking, but I'm not, it's far too early to think about it, unquote. I'm not joking. Now, look, I get distractions, but here's the thing that Trygve Olsen has taught us on this show. As he put together his 7 rules for dealing with authoritarians, who has dealt with authoritarians and gone up against them in Eastern Europe. Authoritarians always telegraph what they're going to do. They don't hide it. They tell you. And when we come back, I'm going to explain why there's already a game plan for this to happen. It has already happened. There is a pathway, an example of how Trump does this. And not to scare the bejesus out of you, but it's already underway. This is not a red herring. He is actually considering, and there are plans in the works for Trump to attempt an end runaround to get a third term. Come back, take your phone calls as well. Don't go anywhere. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show right here for a Monday on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Shot Social Club, a perfect blend of cool, casual dining, indoor golf with space for events, craft cocktails, and non-alcoholic drinks too. A hidden gem on Madison's East Side. Blind Shot Social Club, open to everyone. BlindShotSocialClub.com.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government by and for the people. President Donald Trump issued an executive order March 25th implementing portions of the likely doomed Safeguard American Voter Eligibility, or SAVE Act. Among its restrictive provisions are a documentary proof of citizenship to register and vote, potentially disenfranchising millions. Trump's new order, entitled Preserving and Protecting the Integrity of American Elections, withholds federal funding from any state which does not implement the use of the National Voter Registration Form and mandates proof of citizenship documents, including a birth certificate, naturalization papers, a real ID compliant driver's license, or a U.S. passport. A 2024 study found 1 in 9 Americans don't have ready access to those documents. And when they do, the documents often don't reflect name and address changes over time. The order would also force states to end mail-in ballot grace periods, restricting ballot deadlines to Election Day. It also demands states report illegal voting to the federal government and directs the Attorney General to withhold federal grants if they don't. Such requirements attempt to circumvent state voting rights expansions, such as Michigan's 2022 passage of Proposition 2. The order will be challenged. The U.S. Constitution grants the states the power to determine the places and manner of holding elections, not the president. Find the text of the order at AmericanDemocracyMinute.org. I'm Brian Beal.
Found an injured, sick, or orphaned wild animal? Dane County Humane Society's Wildlife Center can help.
All right, let me hear you, folks. A 1, a 2, a 3. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd.
That's right.
Buy me some
Be caller
peanuts
number 8 right now to win tickets this Friday to see Just a Bit Outside.
I never get back. I'll root for the Brewers. You do the same for the Cubs. So it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. Thank you very much.
The incomparable, the immortal Bob Uecker singing Take Me Out to the Ball Game at Wrigley Field. Did you like how when I got to the part, he goes, I'll root for the Brewers. You do the same for the Cubs. I mean, and he got a lot of heat when he did that. A lot of Chicago media said, oh, that was disrespectful to Harry Carey for saying Brewers when you should have said Cubs. And Uecker said, look, I knew Harry Carey. Harry would have thought it was funny. And I think he's right. I think he's absolutely right. All right. Well, we said earlier when you heard that song being sung by the late, great Bob Uecker, who died earlier this year, going to be weird today. Home opener, first time in 50 plus years not having Uecker on the microphone, but I'm sure Jeff Levering and Lane Grindle will do a great job at many of our Brewer stations. But we said when you heard that, be caller number 8, because Uecker's number when he played was 8. It's on the back of my jersey right now. And we were going to give away 2 tickets for this Friday night for the movie Just a Bit Outside, the story of the 1982 Milwaukee Brewers on Friday at 5:30. Be caller number 8. Zommers has screened the calls, and it looks like we have a winner. Caller number 8, Chris in Sun Prairie, listening on WMDX. Chris, congratulations.
Thank you.
I really appreciate your listenership. Now let's make sure, can you go this Friday night and be there and join Zommers and I at 5:30?
Absolutely can. Absolutely.
All right, that's fine. Any particular memories of, or are you old enough to remember the 82 Brewers, or was that before your time?
No, I was old enough to remember, but quite young.
Right.
I was only 7, but yes, but the Uecker is like the classic voice of baseball, and I'm just excited to see it.
Well, have you seen it yet?
No,
Oh,
I
great,
haven't.
great. Well, I've seen it, and I was there for the opening of Waukesha. Zomers and I will be there. We'll look forward to meeting you. Stay on the line. Don't hang up because we're going to need your personal info to get these tickets to you. So we'll take that off the air. So stay with us. Don't go anywhere, Chris. Just hang right there. Congratulations again. We'll see you on Friday, all right?
Excellent. Thanks very much.
Thank you very
Appreciate it.
much. Appreciate you, a listener. There you go. Chris in Sun Prairie, our big winner this hour for those 2 tickets for Just a Bit Outside, the story of the Milwaukee Brewers. It's a great film. Available right now on DVD. You can order it on Amazon. And on Friday, going to have some very exciting news for you if you're a streamer. When it's coming to streaming and where. Kelly Call and Sean Hanish, the 2 producers and director, respectively, of the movie, are going to be sitting right beside me talking about this movie. It's part of the Wisconsin Film Festival. Again, last I checked, Just a Bit Outside was sold out. But keep checking. Who knows? Maybe they can open up some other avenues of tickets for you. But it's a really great film. And it's particularly great on this day, the home opener of the Milwaukee Brewers. So not a lot of time left, and I'm going to say this quickly because we have guests coming on next hour, Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez. Maybe we'll get into a little bit with Dan Schaefer at 1:30. But here's the deal quickly on Trump in a 3rd term. This is real in terms of it's not just all smoke and mirrors. There's already legislation going on by members of Congress. But if you want the roadmap, look at El Salvador. I never thought that all my knowledge of El Salvador would be this pertinent. But this guy, Nayib Bukele, the populist dictator, quote-unquote, president down there. In El Salvador, it was in their constitution you could only run for 1 5-year term consecutively. He went in using the military essentially as not direct force, but as a quote-unquote deterrent. He got rid of some of the people on the Salvadoran Supreme Court, put his own people in. He attacked the press, suppressed the press and opposition. And they because we had to, this guy was doing so well, we had to let Bukele have another consecutive term. And he did it. And it worked. And many of the same tactics, attacking the press, suppressing the White House Correspondents' Press Association, their big dinner every year where they have a comedian come in and make fun of the president. Guess what? They dropped the comedian this year. I forget her name. I didn't know her because Trump didn't like her. They are kowtowing to Trump. We're already seeing attacks of the court. We've talked about it on this show. We're going to continue to. The ground, if you think that Trump is making this up, if you think this is a joke about him trying to get a 3rd term, you are mistaken, my friend. This is real, and Trump's people are in close contact with Bukele's people in El Salvador. And let me tell you, folks, they're jealous that Bukele did it. So what Bukele did in El Salvador is he was smarter than Trump because he actually did a lot of good things for them. He put people in jail. He suspended habeas corpus and declared martial law to do it. But guess what? A lot less crime. He fixed roads, infrastructure. He took Chinese money to build a new library. He's taking Chinese money to build a new stadium. He truly is more of a populist. Trump doesn't get that part of it. But the groundwork is there, my friends. And we have to talk about this, and we have to take it seriously. And Trygve Olsen has put it down there and told us that authoritarians always tell us what they're going to do. Have we got time quickly? I've got a phone call. No, we're out of time. Up against the clock, as they say. Big show today. Stay tuned. We're going to give away an overnight stay to Chula Vista next hour. And Lieutenant Governor of Wisconsin, Sarah Rodriguez, joins us. Looking forward to that conversation. And Dan Schaefer will recombobulate with us at the 1:30 hours. The Allbaugh Show right here on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Hello.
There she is, the wonderful and talented Lieutenant Governor of Wisconsin, on the road.
On the road, on the road.
Where did we find you today?
Right outside of Green Bay.
Oh, fantastic. You went to the Musk rally last night?
I did not. I did not.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
All right. And I assume you're able to talk about politics. You're not in an official
Yep.
office. All right.
I
Very good.
can talk all politics you'd like.
All right. So we got 5 minutes here. We're going to do news and stuff. Then we'll come back. I have to do this goofy giveaway real quick at the very top of the show. I have to give out the secret words. That'll take me 45 seconds, a minute, and then we'll get into interviewing with you. We'll cover we'll cover the election. Obviously, we had Judge Crawford on earlier. I thought she did a great job. Is there anything anything else that you want to make sure that we cover?
No, I think the election is good. Maybe talking a little bit about the budget and healthcare with the budget, like expansion of Medicaid, those types of things. We are now going to be the only state in the country that has not expanded Medicaid 12 months postpartum.
Wow. What a distinction.
Yeah, what a distinction.
All right, we'll do that. I don't want to blindside you, so I'm doing the show in Milwaukee on Thursday at EW Milwaukee. I know they have something in the budget, or I'm not sure if you guys have it or if it's just going to JFC for a new health building down there, or renovation at their campus down there. And so we're going to be talking a little bit about that. So is it in that healthcare thing is I'll just bring up and say, hey, we're going to be in Milwaukee. One of the benefits of our great University of Wisconsin, I still call it UW system. You have places like UW Milwaukee who are training our nurses and not so much doctor, but nurses and healthcare workers. And this is why it's essential to invest in healthcare. We'll go down that road a little bit.
Yeah, great.
All right. It is opening day, Lieutenant Governor, for Milwaukee baseball. So we'll talk a little bit about that.
It is.
All
A
right,
little chilly.
Yes. I'm going to refresh my water, and I'll be right back.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks.
Before tomorrow, and all eyes are on the race for Wisconsin Supreme Court. According to data from the Brennan Center for Justice, just updated this morning, the campaigns and outside groups have spent $90 million in this race. That makes it the most expensive court race in U.S. history. Elon Musk has spent at least $20 million to elect conservative Brad Schimmel as his company Tesla is fighting a case in Wisconsin courts. Musk was up in Green Bay last night giving away cash to people who signed a petition. Lisa Hale has more.
Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul had filed a lawsuit Friday against Musk to stop his efforts to give $1 million to two voters. However, just minutes before that rally, the Wisconsin Supreme Court unanimously declined to hear that lawsuit. Musk's attorneys argued that the payments were intended to generate a grassroots movement in opposition to activist judges and did not specifically advocate for a candidate. While AG Kaul called Musk's offer a blatant attempt to violate the state law. Hundreds of protesters from northeast Wisconsin gathered outside the KI Convention Center to express their opposition to Brad Schimmel, claiming that Musk is trying to buy the election.
Meanwhile, Susan Crawford spent the weekend campaigning. She's finishing a 10-day tour of the state here in Madison today. Her campaign says she traveled 2,400 miles, crisscrossing Wisconsin, talking to people about the issues that matter to them. Funnily enough, when the Attorney General filed that lawsuit against Elon Musk on Friday, the case was assigned to, you guessed it, Dane County Judge Susan Crawford. Court software randomly assigns cases to judges here in Dane County. Crawford recused herself immediately and at a campaign stop in Kenosha told WISN, "You can't make this stuff up." For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson.
The Brewers are back. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. Baseball. The Brewers home opener going on today at American Family Field against the Kansas City Royals. Now, last year.
All right, Todd, are you ready that we can
I gotta do this thing. Tomorrow's Tuesday.
Yes.
It's election day. How about that? All right. Sorry, sorry, Lieutenant Governor, you got to hear my bad announcing here. All right. Here we go. 3, 2, and 1. Hey, everybody, join us next time. Our old friend, Steve. Here we go. 3, 2, and 1. Hey, everybody, join us next time. Our old friend Pat Kreitlow, host of Up North News Radio, will join us to preview the spring election, details on how to register at the polls, and more. Join us. All right, there we go. Not one take, Todd, today. It had to be two.
Two take, Todd.
We have to get guys to see what we see, and we will.
That's not River Sports. I'm Mike Clemens. This is your local civic media radio station. Want to hear even more? Anytime? Find all of it at civicmedia.us.
Sunny with a north breeze and highs
Oh,
reaching the low
Zommers,
40s.
for the
Clear skies tonight,
for the
we dip down
contest,
to the
can we
mid-20s.
use I
and
Can
for
See Clearly
tomorrow,
Now?
sun
I
to
can see
start, clouds
clearly now.
increasing,
The rain
and a
is
wintry
gone.
mix likely
Gonna
by
be
early
bright.
evening.
Right,
Some
right,
thunder is
right
also
from that
possible, and
chorus
snow
there.
accumulations look like less than an inch. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. Right now, it's
Thank you.
38.
Judge Brad Schimmel surrounds himself with extremists. He's supported by national and state anti-abortion organizations because he opposes abortion rights. But don't take my word for it. Hear it from Schimmel himself. When asked about abortion, he said,
"We have to shut this down. We have to shut this down."
When asked about Wisconsin's abortion ban, which doesn't include exceptions for rape, incest, or help of the mother,
The 1849 ban on abortions, which, by the way, what is flawed about that law? What is flawed about that law?
Brad Schimmel takes the side of extremists and would place politicians in charge of decisions that individuals should be making. By taking the side of extremists, he's not listening to Wisconsin residents. Tell Judge Brad Schimmel, keep extremist politics out of our court decisions. Call 262-548-7548.
Thank you.
Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with fantastic Mr. Aaron Zommers on the board. It is 6 past the hour of 1 o'clock. Welcome into hour number 2 of the big broadcast on Monday, March 31st, 2025. Glad to have you along here from the world headquarters of Civic Media in downtown Madison on this home opener day at AM Fam Field in Milwaukee. For those watching on the stream, I have my Euchre number 8 jersey on today. Our Brewers Cup, things are getting just underway down in Milwaukee right now. If you're looking for the game, you can hear it on terrestrial radio. Has nothing to do with ET, but it has, you know, those things that would sit on the kitchen counter, Zommers, and you're too young to remember this. You'd have a bathroom radio in my day. You'd have a kitchen radio, a car radio. Listening to baseball. Do you ever listen to baseball, the radio, Zommer?
I have some, not a lot. Mostly while ice fishing up north or things like that.
All right.
Well, I guess not ice fishing. That doesn't line up with baseball season.
Well, no.
Just doing things
Maybe
outside
up north,
north.
yes. There is still ice sometimes up north in
I
baseball.
don't remember,
You can hear the game right now on WRCE in Richland Center, WISS in Oshkosh, WRJN in Racine, Kenosha, and WCQM in Park Falls, and now and WBZH in beautiful Hayward, Wisconsin. Just getting underway right now. We'll keep you up to date. We got it on the old TV, so we'll give you updates on here as well. But stick around. We have a very special guest coming up talking about the spring election. Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez is standing by in the wings. But first of all, the lawyers who sit right outside this window with the mute button if Todd says the wrong thing at any time. The lawyers tell us we have to get this out of the way. Zommers, let's go.
I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way.
That's right. It's time for Civic Media's Break into Spring Text to Win contest. The clouds are parting. The sun is coming out in Wisconsin. It's a beautiful day. It's going to be a beautiful day, at least in the morning, to vote tomorrow. But first of all, do this. If you haven't got it, download the Civic Media app. Go to the first 11 stations on the app. That's where you'll find us. Go to the one closest to you or one of the first 11. Click on it in the lower right-hand corner. It'll say text. Click on that. I'm going to give you now a magical secret word to text in. What you're texting in, the chance to win this hour, is a beautiful overnight stay at Chula Vista Resort in Wisconsin Dells. Zommers and I have been there for our Christmas party, our holiday party. Beautiful place, indoor water park, outdoor water for the kids as well, golf course, a zip line. They got it all. Spa up there at Chula Vista Resort. This hour, somebody's going to win an overnight stay at Chula Vista Resort, and then everybody gets entered in for our grand prize of a Verlo mattress set along with a bamboo steamer. No, I'm sorry. It's rather actually bamboo sheets.
They are different
bamboo
things.
sheets, not the bamboo steamer. So bamboo sheets, so all of that up for grabs. Here is the secret word this hour. The secret word is nap. I'm going to take a nap after the show. N-A-P, nap. Text the word nap right now. N-A-P. N as in Nancy, A as in Apple, P as in Paul. The word is nap. Text it right now on the Civic Media app, and you'll be eligible to win a overnight stay at Chula Vista Resort and entered in for the grand prize of a Verlo mattress set at the end of this week, Zombers. Only till the end of this week. So all kinds of good things happening. Look, nobody's taking a nap. Let me tell you one thing. We're only a block away from the Capitol. And oftentimes I'll walk by the Capitol and you look up there and the legislature, the lights. I know where all the offices are at in the Capitol because I used to walk by there. I used to work up there. So I look up, some of the boss's office, the leader's office, dark. You go by the lieutenant governor's office. The lights are always burning bright. Always working hard. Today she's on the road, not in her official capacity as lieutenant governor. She's always lieutenant governor, but she's out there free to roam a little bit and talk freely. We find her on the road in Green Bay, Wisconsin, joining us via StreamYard. The one, the only lieutenant governor in Wisconsin, Sarah Rodriguez. Lieutenant governor, how the heck are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me, Todd.
It is always a pleasure. Now you're on the road today. Tell us, Lieutenant Governor, what's up? What are you doing on the road today?
So I just recently visited Bellin College and looked at some of their healthcare programs that they are being able to show for high school students. So they're trying to get more high school students interested in healthcare. So they had all of these different types of simulation labs that the high school students could try, like surgery. They had a cadaver, like a
Wow.
well, not a real cadaver, but one that that you could just do. It was simulated.
Mhm.
And then how to do CPR and how to do all these other things. It was really neat to see the students who were interested in doing this.
So just to clarify, you were not in Green Bay to win $1 million last night.
I was not.
I
was
just wanted to
not.
make sure. Well, this is fantastic because, and you're always so gracious with your time and to come on this show. And one of the things that we know about you is that you're a registered nurse. So you know the healthcare industry. This is near and dear to you. And so when you go to these places, you're not just some yuck like me that doesn't know what's going on. You actually understand what these folks are training for and the value of what they add to our communities in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I mean, we know that we've got shortages within the state of Wisconsin, particularly in nursing, but also surgical technology, like what they were teaching about there. And so that's part of the work that I do as lieutenant governor. I was chair of the healthcare workforce task force and trying to make sure that we put dollars into the budget coming up this next cycle so that we can recruit clinicians and we can retain them here in Wisconsin.
So speaking of healthcare and the budget coming up here, we're right in the middle of this thing. Joint Finance Committee, better known as JFC, are starting to hold hearings, get things together. Bob Lang, who everybody loves, our great budget director there. Nobody does a better job than Bob Lang, respected by both sides of the aisle. And of course, you and Governor Evers, Governor Evers has already put his budget on the table. But talk to us a little bit about healthcare in the state budget. And if you would, because this gets lost in the conversation. We hear a lot in national news, Medicare, Medicaid, Medicare. Explain the difference between Medicare and Medicaid and why Medicaid is on the table right now. And unfortunately, an unfortunate reason, the spotlight's being shown on it in Wisconsin.
Yes. So Medicare is the one that for the vast majority of people, you get it when you turn 65. So it's something that, folks rely on for their health care as they get older and they get out of the workforce. Medicaid has many different applications, and that is for individuals who meet a certain income threshold. And so they're working perhaps, but they don't make as much money. And then they qualify to be able to get health care through Medicaid. And that's about 20% of people in the state of Wisconsin are on Medicaid for their health insurance. That includes kids. That includes a lot of kids, and it includes a lot of elderly people as well. So A lot of folks who are in nursing homes today are on Medicare and on Medicaid to be able to pay for that care. It is a safety net for so many people in Wisconsin. And the reason why we're talking about it is because we are one of 10 states that has not expanded Medicaid here in Wisconsin. And we are missing out on about $2 billion over the biennium that's coming out of your taxpayer dollars to be able to invest in healthcare here, to be able to make sure that we can reimburse providers what they're worth, to make sure that we can invest in mental health for our kids. And as they're talking about, cuts in Medicaid across the board, within nationally, we have to look at what we're doing here in Wisconsin, and we have to make sure that we are making the right decisions for Wisconsinites. And we don't want to get caught flat-footed if they make some changes at the federal level and we haven't expanded yet.
So explain to us, or I guess update me. I haven't worked in the building, as they say, in the Capitol since January of 2015. And this argument from my former party, which I left in 2011, and look, Robin Vos was there then, he's still there now. These guys are just reticent to take money. And this is money, by the way, folks, that red states, very red states, Trump states, are taking. This is federal money. And what's the latest reason, Lieutenant Governor, that Republicans in the legislature are telling you and Governor Evers why they're so reticent to make Wisconsin taxpayers pay this money that is otherwise sitting there for free in D.C.?
Yeah, so just like you said, Wyoming had it sunsetting, their expansion sunsetting, and the governor just signed it so that it was indefinitely having expansion. Wyoming, pretty red state. Kentucky has expanded Medicaid. And we know that when states expand Medicaid, they have better results. Their rural hospitals actually get more reimbursement, and they're able to have way better health outcomes, and not even just health outcomes. There's other things that are helpful when people are able to take care of themselves. We saw in states that expanded Medicaid, we saw less evictions from apartments because people can work and be able to make money because they're taking care of their health. That is what's going on. What we hear from the Republican legislature is that they don't want to take these dollars because maybe the federal government cuts it in the future, and then it's on the state to be able to take care of these people. But the reality is there's going to be a whole lot of pushback within all of these different red, purple, blue states if they try to cut Medicaid. So we don't want to get caught flat-footed. We want to make sure whatever they're doing on the federal level, that we are in the best position to be able to take these dollars and help Wisconsinites. And that's why I think we should be expanding. Secondly, if I can mention this, we are only one of 2 states that has not expanded postpartum for 12 months.
Wow.
2 states, us and Arkansas. And Arkansas,
great company.
Right. Arkansas has just had it passed through their committee. So they are on target to be able to sign 12 months postpartum. We will be the last lonely state to not take care of our moms when they're having babies in Wisconsin. And that's like nationally, that's like 50% of babies are born on Medicaid. That's a lot of babies.
It's a lot of babies.
It's a lot of babies. And so we want to make sure we take care of that mom as well for 12 months after she has that baby. And, we should be doing this. Almost every other state has done it. It makes no sense why we're not. It passed through the Senate. Again, Robin Vos is holding it up in the House, in the Assembly. So it's just very, very frustrating when they have these arguments that just don't hold water.
As I've said on this show before, last time I checked, both Republicans and Democrats, women have babies. Last time I checked.
Yes,
Maybe I'm wrong.
They do. They do.
I've been open about talking about this before because a lot of the argument from my former party is, well, it's just lazy people that don't want to work who are on these services. Here is my card. I'll cover the number up. Here is my card, my old card of Forward Health. When I was a small business owner, a job creator, and owned my own business, this is the only health care I had. We'll come back and talk about that and talk about why Governor Evers and Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez are fighting for this when we come back. Stay with us at the Allbaugh Show on Civic Media.
Thank you.
Sorry, I almost made a hybrid of Governor Tony Rodriguez.
That's okay. Tony Rodriguez.
But it has a good sound to it.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
All right, we'll talk just a little bit about that and my visit to UWM, and then we'll get into the election for tomorrow.
Sure,
Yeah.
perfect.
All right. This is a 2-minute break.
Likely doomed Safeguard American Voter Eligibility, or SAVE Act. Among its restrictive provisions are a documentary proof of citizenship to register and vote, potentially disenfranchising millions. Trump's new order, entitled Preserving and Protecting the Integrity of American Elections, withholds federal funding from any state which does not implement the use of the National Voter Registration Form and mandates proof of citizenship documents, including a birth certificate, naturalization papers, a real ID compliant driver's license, or a U.S. passport. A 2024 study found 1 in 9 Americans don't have ready access to those documents. And when they do, the documents often don't reflect name and address changes over time. The order would also force states to end mail-in ballot grace periods, restricting ballot deadlines to Election Day. It also demands states report illegal voting to the federal government and directs the Attorney General to withhold federal grants if they don't. Such requirements attempt to circumvent state voting rights expansions, such as Michigan's 2022 passage of Proposition 2. The order will be challenged. The U.S. Constitution grants the
About 30
states the
seconds.
power
Thank
to
you.
determine the places and manner of holding.
Pursuing truth wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. 21 now past the hour of 1 o'clock on Monday, March 31st. Summers on the board. Glad to have you along. Glad to have our very special guest this half hour with us, Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez of Wisconsin. Lieutenant Governor, you're always so gracious with your time. You're joining us via your car out just outside of Green Bay. And folks, she's pulled over. She's not talking while she's driving.
I
She's
am
very
not.
safe. Yeah, we appreciate that. One of the and look, I'm just going to say this because I've dealt with a lot of politicians over the years, my 30 years plus career in politics on both sides of the aisle. The reason that I'm a fan of yours is because, and Travi Olson, our friend from the Lincoln Project, says this. Former Governor Tommy Thompson used to say, there are people who want to be and people who want to do. Scott Walker was someone who just wanted to be someone. Here's a person in Sarah Rodriguez, a registered nurse, a wife, a mom, just minding your own business, but you saw a problem, you want to get involved. You're just like everybody else. You're a Wisconsinite. You love the Brewers. You travel around the state, but you really care. And you talk plainly, like Democratic U.S. Senator Brian Schatz of Hawaii says, like a normal person. And I appreciate that so much about you, and I appreciate you coming on the air. Before we went to the break, I held up my old, I'm no longer on it because I have health insurance through Civic Media, but my Forward Health Card. When I owned a small coffee shop here in Madison, I was a quote-unquote, as Republicans like to say, job creator. But I could not afford my own health insurance. And the only way that I had it was slightly better than catastrophic, was through Forward Health, which is Obamacare. And explain to people what your and Governor Evers are doing in Wisconsin to try to work on healthcare in this budget would mean not just, and there's nothing wrong with people who are having a hard time in life, but this isn't just quote unquote poor folks or down in their luck people. This affects people who are working 90 hours a week.
Yeah. These are working people. These are people who are working. They just don't make enough money to be able to afford health insurance. That's what we're trying to expand here in Wisconsin. That's why, we are one of only 10 states. And if you think about it, and in Wisconsin, Medicaid is called Badger Care. I always want to make that clear because some people get a little confused on that. And you know who else gets covered under Badger Care or Medicaid? Kids with disabilities, right? They often get covered under Medicaid. We have foster children get covered under Medicaid. These are all things that we want to make sure that we're taking care of. And you've got folks who are working full time, trying to make ends meet, and they just are not able to afford healthcare. That's 90,000 folks in Wisconsin today. And then
Yeah.
30,000 of those are completely uninsured. 60,000 of those, I would argue, are underinsured. They might have a really high deductible plan. And it's really, if anything happens, it'd be really hard to be able to manage their finances. I will tell you, my father was on Medicaid at the end of his life. He was he was a veteran, Navy veteran, served during Vietnam, worked every day of his life, but he ended up getting diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And that just takes their funding away from you. I mean, that's a huge drag on your finances for families. And to have him covered on Medicaid or Badger Care at the end of his life was such a blessing for my family. And that is something that we want to make sure we can extend to as many people as possible in Wisconsin so that they can get the type of health care that they need.
I have 3 questions for you. We'll try to go. We got about, there's 4 minutes left here or so, something like that. Number 1, quickly, Thursday, I'm going to be in Milwaukee. You'll be in Milwaukee. They have a budget request in for their campus for a renovation, a healthcare facility. Talk for about a minute on the importance of that budget request in front of Joint Finance Committee.
It's huge. So we need to make sure we have the most up-to-date facilities to be training our clinicians. If we do not, they will leave for other states to go get trained. And so we want to make sure that we have all of the equipment there. I was just in a simulation lab earlier today. Really neat stuff. We're able to excite students about being in healthcare, which is what we need because we have shortages. And so having an up-to-date facility is going to be able to accomplish that.
Tomorrow is Election Day in Wisconsin. Polls open at 7 a.m. You can register at the polls. What do you want Lieutenant Governor Rodriguez, voters in Wisconsin to know going into tomorrow?
Look, for me, I have been really disgusted with Elon Musk and his dollar giveaways. I'm a nurse, not a lawyer, so I'm not going to say anything about the legality of it. But to me, it feels like buying votes. And Wisconsin is not for sale. That's what we need to give that message back to Elon Musk and make sure that he knows that Wisconsin is not for sale. He cannot buy this election like he has been trying to buy all of these other elections. Do we want Wisconsin Supreme Court to just be a rubber stamp for Trump and Elon Musk? Is that what we want? And you know what they've done is they've cut, if we talk still about healthcare, we're going to lose almost more than $210 million in federal funds.
Mm-hmm.
In the state of Wisconsin, $210 million in federal funds outside of this Badger Care expansion. And that was going to be used for mental health, substance abuse prevention, being able to prepare for our next pandemic. And they just cut it, even though that funding was supposed to sunset anyway in 6 months. It is just chaos at the federal level. And it is so difficult for states to be able to plan in terms of what their budget needs to be and how we are supposed to be able to taking care of people when we can't even get, a straight answer from the federal government about what they're going to be supporting and what they're going to be cutting. And that's what he's doing. He's taking a chainsaw to everything. Is that what we want? Do we want a Supreme Court that's going to rubber stamp that?
Yeah, it's a very important election, and the polls open tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Minute and a half or so left, Lieutenant Governor, if you don't mind. One of the things that you and I have talked about, what we share, we have people in our life that are of Latino ethnicity.
Mm-hmm.
My godsons are half Latino, and they're in their 20s. We have pretty hard conversations right now. How is your family doing? And what do you tell people that you love in your life who are of Latino ethnicity? What should they be thinking right now in America?
It has been really hard. My kids go to a dual language school, and that means that often it's a minority majority school. So a lot of the kids in that school, their parents might have different levels of documented status. And there's a lot of fear that's going around. And so making sure people know their rights in terms of what immigration can and cannot do, making sure that they have a plan to be able to contact family members if they have any issues. We know that the Trump-Musk presidency is really not following a lot of the rules. So there could be people, and there have been people who are legally present in the United States that could be scooped up. Make sure you got your documents. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself.
You're remarkable. Lieutenant Governor Rodriguez, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for being out on the road, talking to Wisconsinites, and just being a cheerleader for our state. You're welcome here every time. Safe travels. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez, stay tuned. Dan Schaefer's next, right here on the Todd Allbaugh Show. You're amazing. Thank you. Really appreciate you.
Appreciate it. All right. Have a good day.
Thanks. I'm sorry to give you. I've told both my godsons, don't go anywhere without your passport.
Yeah.
I never thought I would have to say that to them in this country. And anyway, thank you for your honesty. Thanks for being transparent. Have a great day.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Your camera.
More.
Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul had filed a lawsuit Friday against Musk to stop his efforts to give $1 million to two voters. However, just minutes before that rally, the Wisconsin Supreme Court unanimously declined to hear that lawsuit. Musk's attorneys argued that the payments were intended to generate a grassroots movement.
I guess just come back with the recombobulation theme.
Okay, that's what I was planning on.
I'll just bring Diana in. So I want to update the score of the Brewers. I want to give the word, all that kind of stuff.
Blatant attempt to violate the state law. Hundreds of protesters from northeast Wisconsin gathered outside the KI Convention Center to express their opposition to Brad Schimmel, claiming that Musk is trying to buy the election.
Meanwhile, Susan Crawford spent the weekend campaigning. She's finishing a 10-day tour of the state here in Madison today. Her campaign says she traveled 2,400 miles, crisscrossing Wisconsin, talking to people about the issues that matter to them. Funnily enough, when the Attorney General filed that lawsuit against Elon Musk on Friday, the case was assigned to, you guessed it, Dane County Judge Susan Crawford. Court software randomly assigns cases to judges here in Dane County. Crawford recused herself immediately and at a campaign stop in Kenosha told WISN, you can't make this stuff up.
What?
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the technology here at Civic Media, we have books for a microphone stand.
Might be worth a look. If you're in the mood for a horror comedy,
yes, we do currently.
That's fantastic.
Starring Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega as a father-daughter duo headed to a party when they
I think we should get some,
kill a unicorn.
we should
the film is
curate the books. We should have like an RFK Jr. book over there or something.
Another horror film opening is
My Life by Bill Clinton.
About an ominous-looking woman who mysteriously appears in a family's yard and gives dire warnings. No reviews in yet, so proceed with caution. Action fans might want to check out Jason Statham's new movie called A Working Man, where Statham's character is a mild-mannered construction worker with a Special Forces military background. You might think you've heard this story before, but no, this is much different than his last film, where he was a trained killer hiding his identity as a beekeeper. In A Working Man, Statham goes after the human traffickers who have kidnapped
Welcome to our Milton Berle. Ladies and gentlemen, for all those watching the stream, our microphone stand includes Milton Berle. I'm not sure whether in today's day and age.
The only microphone stand that includes.
And a whole lot of fun. It's all on your local Civic Media radio station.
All right.
Civic Media
So I have a little bit of an outline for us.
Great. Yeah.
To talk through the voter ID stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Clear skies tonight. We dip down to the mid-20s. And for tomorrow, sun to start, clouds increasing, and a wintry mix likely by early evening. Some thunder is also possible, and snow accumulations look like less
How
than
was
an inch.
Rodriguez?
I'm meteorologist.
She's
Whitney
always
Rivera.
fantastic.
40 degrees
You
at
guys
our
seem to have a
studios.
good rapport whenever you're.
Yeah, she's super chill. I like her because she answers. She gives real answers to questions. She's thoughtful. She's not a politician. She's a real person.
Are his headphones on?
Oh, are your? Can you hear?
They are.
Okay,
Is
excellent.
it too loud, too soft?
We're
Testing.
good.
All
It's a little on the loud side, but it's
All right,
okay.
hang on. I can adjust it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. How's that? Is that any better?
Yeah, that's good.
All right. We don't want to blow Dan's ears out.
We're going out of town next month.
need
to meet
those.
cat sitter.
Hotel
pet sitting. You know.
Okay, so I just have like a little bit of just kind of a 4-point thing.
great.
So like your history on voter ID and some of the stuff that went viral.
All right. You want to do that now on this part of it?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And so then we could do that. We could talk about like all the 2016 stuff that was happening, and then just like how this has evolved over the years.
20
think it'd be
seconds.
kind of the second
Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Schaefer has taken over the program.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I love it.
Okay, all right. I tend to over-prepare for things.
I think it's great.
There is a fifth dimension beyond that which is known to man.
Milwaukee's best.
It's a dimension as vast as space and as timeless as infinity.
Hey, man, what about Milwaukee, man?
It is the middle ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition.
I think God would want us to go to Milwaukee.
And it lies between the pit of a man's fears and the summit of his knowledge.
What do you think about Milwaukee?
This is the dimension of imagination. You are now entering the recombobulation area.
Welcome back, everybody. 34 minutes now past the hour of 1 o'clock. There is no better introduction in all of Wisconsin radio than that right there. You know, it means only one person can be on the other side of a break. That is the political editor of Civic Media and the founder of the foresaid recombobulation area, Mr. Dan Schaefer. Dan, how the heck are you?
We're in discombobulating times, Todd, but I am here to recombobulate with you and all of the fine listeners here at the Todd Allbaugh Show.
Well, I appreciate that. We're very discombobulated indeed in these odd times. Before we get into the talking about voter ID and the election tomorrow, want to remind listeners. Now, Dan, you're ineligible because you're an employee, but have you heard about the big Break Into Spring Text to Win contest?
I have. It was promoted on Matinee on Air when I was there on.
Really?
When I was there on Friday.
And they get very saucy.
Well, Jane's competitive.
She is competitive.
Yeah. And so she wants people to text during her show. Now,
Right.
I'm guessing you're going to want people to text during your show.
Well, yeah. I mean, I just try to do what the company tells me and play a happy game. And Jane and Greg get all saucy and throw down gauntlets and.
It's all in good fun.
This time I don't think they have, though.
Oh, there's no gauntlet being thrown down, Zommers.
Not this time.
No, but they still. I heard when you were on, and yeah.
Yeah, they want people to text during their show. So now,
Look,
I've got my allegiances divided from being a guest on both shows.
I just want people to win and have fun. That's all.
true.
That's all I'm
true.
in for. Here's
That's
the
all
deal.
we're here for.
The word of the day, by the way, the word to text right now download the Civic Media app. It's free. Takes less than a minute. It's what CBS's Gail King calls a deal. On the Civic Media app, you download it, you open it up. First 11 stations, all the ones we're on. Go down, open one of those up. Lower right-hand corner, it says text, a little bubble, like an old cartoon bubble. Click on that. Now text the word NAP, N-A-P. When Dan Schaefer gets done recombobulating, taking care of his children, and watching a Bucks game, the next thing he does is take a nap. N-A-P. Text the word NAP right now on the Civic Media app. Also, speaking of Milwaukee, the Brewers right now, top of the second, already down to the Kansas City Royals by a score of 3-0.
They're giving up some runs to start the season. It's okay. We're all a little discombobulated
And Brian
these days.
Kelly up there James Kelly up there at our station WCFW, our news director up in Northwest Wisconsin. He is from New York. And so we're on a meeting this morning. He's wearing his Yankees hat.
saw that,
And
yeah.
he's getting all salty about the Yankees are clearly juicing their bats. And well, we should have done it sooner.
Of course, the Yankees
Of course.
are getting away with things.
Anyway,
yes.
you can listen to the Brewers on terrestrial radio on select stations across Civic Media, as Letterman likes to say. I hope one of yours has been selected. But otherwise, stay around because Dan Schaefer, this half hour, we are, oh, by the way, on the Text to Win contest, the prize up right now, the Chula Vista Resort. Ever taken the kids there?
Have not. I would like to.
You got it. It's a beautiful place in the
Well, maybe
Dells.
I'll win the Text to Win.
You can't win, but yeah, if those that are playing, the prize up right now is for the Chula Vista overnight getaway resort thing. You will also be entered in to win a grand prize of a brand new mattress set from Verlo, a Verlo mattress, which includes a bamboo steamer. No, I'm sorry, bamboo sheets. Sorry.
Bamboo sheets.
Yes, bamboo sheets.
That's the real kicker there. I was on the fence before, but now, it comes with sheets.
Exactly.
Now I'm interested.
Dan, look, we're doing a crossover show today, and as I told people up front, that does not include putting different clothes on. It's a crossover show, and because you're in today, filling in for the John and Gordy in the afternoon show, which is filling in for the Maggie Dawn show.
That's
and
right.
Today it's the Dan Schaefer show.
That's right.
And so
That's
I'm
right.
going to be on the Dan Schaefer show next half hour, and
Yeah.
you're on this show. And just like on Saturday Night Live, when they used to have those shorts where they would take over the show. And Lauren Michaels' character, come back with my show. Dan Schaefer is taking over the show, and I love it.
I guess so.
What do you got for us today, Dan?
Well, so I wanted to talk to you about the voter ID amendment and just kind of the history of this issue in Wisconsin. So for listeners who may have been all consumed by the Wisconsin Supreme Court race, the state superintendent, whatever referendum might be happening in your community, we also have a statewide referendum that is going to be on the ballot that would change, that would amend the state constitution, essentially, making this law on voter ID that is already the law part of the state constitution instead of just being a law.
Already people are like, "You've lost me."
Yes, we're already discombobulated, and I apologize for that.
No.
But it is a very confusing thing, right?
Yes.
And I think voters might be confused when they come up to this. You hear a lot of the ads about the Supreme Court race. They get to the bottom of the ballot, and what in the world is going on?
Have there been ads though for this?
Yeah, I'm saying just ads,
all right.
just generally for the spring election,
All right.
but just like, these typically pass. So
Yes.
the Republicans have done this more and more over the years, have pushed issues that they cannot pass and get signed into law by Governor Tony Evers. They push it to being this, these constitutional amendment questions that go to the voters. Now, most of them have passed. There was one last summer that Wisconsin Democrats really organized around in August and were able to block. But this one, I expect it to pass by a pretty wide margin. But I think it also warrants a kind of larger exploration into the history of voter ID in Wisconsin. And that's something that you have some pretty unique knowledge of. So maybe you could tell and let our listeners know what, you were a Republican staffer at the time in 2011 when Scott Walker, when Robin Voss, when the Republican-controlled legislature was pushing this change to the state's voter ID law. So what did you witness firsthand when that was coming down the pipeline?
I'm not being a bad guest on my own show and avoiding the question. I'll get to that, but just really quickly, so people are clear. So tomorrow, the referendum is going to ask us as voters. Well, I've already voted early, but if you're going tomorrow, we'll basically say, do you feel that Wisconsin should require a photo ID to vote? And to your point, Charles Franklin, Marquette Law School poll, others, it's what? About a 77%er that Wisconsins believe in voter ID right now, Wisconsin.
Yeah, according to the latest Marquette University Law School poll, I do have the numbers here. 77% of Wisconsin registered voters favor having a government-issued photo ID, requiring a government-issued photo ID to vote, and 73% of those registered voters polled are in favor of making it a part of the Wisconsin Constitution. So again,
it's going to pass. To your point, it's going to pass. So people say, "Well, Todd, why would I not want to vote for that?" And it's very tricky because on the face of it, to your point, it's already the law in Wisconsin that you have to have a photo ID when you go vote. So people are saying, "Oh, why are they putting this in the Constitution?" What they don't tell you, and keep me honest, Dan Schaefer, is we've seen this in Trump over like last week, although I lose track. He signed an executive order which would require proof of citizenship now if it were to be enacted, which means, here's an example, women who marry another person, more often than not a man, and choose to take his name, now their birth certificate doesn't match their photo ID. And under this, if they codify it, that's a big word, if they make sure that it's in the Constitution, then Republicans in Wisconsin could use that federal law and theoretically, if proven or if enacted, prevent women who are married from voting, or makes it very difficult.
Yeah, there are some real concerns about that. Absolutely. So there are connections to some of what the Trump administration is doing on an immigration front as it applies to this as well. So I think there are concerns, and I am just generally opposed to this course of action that Republicans have taken by, if they can't pass something, we're going to put it on for a state constitutional ballot with this really confusing language and all of that. I think I am, opposed to this amendment on those grounds as much as anything. But as far as just like the actual voter ID question that's on there.
So I'll and again, for the record, I personally, Todd, I'm okay with a showing a voter ID. I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is making it very hard to get a voter ID and using it to suppress the vote. Well, why do you feel that way, Todd? Thank you so very much for asking. To Dan's question, finally, because I actually saw this firsthand back, and I'll give you the more shortened version to a degree this time. So my last term, I guess you'd say, as a legislative staffer was from late 2010 through January of 2015. My former boss, State Senator Dale Schultz, a Republican. I left the party in 2011 over what I'm about to tell you. Even though I stayed and worked for him, he basically, he endorsed Tony Evers in that race against Scott Walker when he was still a member of the state Senate. So we heard a lot about this from committee member Mary Lozick from the Milwaukee area, was the chair of the Senate Committee on Elections. And she told everybody, well, we've looked into this, and there's all kinds of people voting that shouldn't be voting. Well, my former boss came from the school that a chair of a committee was at least honest with other people on your committee from the same party, at the very least. And so he kind of thought, well, okay, I mean, I don't see it, but if she's telling me that. And so he voted for, I think, the first one or two or four of them. And he voted for the first one or two of these. And then finally, he said, this isn't adding up. And what really turned it was one of these bills that was being proposed in 2011 was on voter ID, and they're so-called voter ID bills. But what it did was it made it more difficult for people in Milwaukee and retired people and kids on campuses to get a quote-unquote legal ID. And these are called closed session caucuses. Both Democrats, Republicans do it, where only the members and their staffs, sometimes they even kick out the staff, but in this one, it was members and staff only. No outside people are allowed in. There's a whole other kettle of fish how Wisconsin gets around that, but they do. And so they're talking about this bill in a closed Senate Republican caucus. And it wasn't catching fire. And Mary Lozick, the chair of the committee, Republican, she gets up. She's a demure woman. And she gets up and she hits the table with her bony finger and she says, hey, we ought to start thinking about what this would mean to places like Milwaukee and the college campuses, i.e. suppressing the vote for people. And my boss, State Senator Dale Schultz, was the only person in that room, and he put up his hand on the elbow on the desk and he goes, hey, maybe we ought to think about what you just said there. And Glenn Grothman, now U.S. Congressman, then state senator, was sitting next to him, and he says, well, Dale, we ought to do it while we can because you and I both know the Democrats would do it to us if they were in charge. And Dale turned around. I was sitting behind him, and he goes, you stay here. And he got up, and he walked out in protest. And for the next hour and a half or so, I sat there, and I want to make clear, not every person in that caucus felt this way. There were a couple of people, Rob Coles is one, whose face kind of turned ashen, but there were other people in there that were giddy about the chance to suppress people's vote. And I thought, boy, howdy, I didn't sign up for this. I didn't go door knocking to help elect Republicans to take away constitutional rights to vote from other people, regardless of whether I agree with them or not. And that's why I left the Republican Party.
It's a remarkable story. I really do think that this is a really important part of Wisconsin's recent history, because I think you and your boss at the time kind of drawing this line in the stand and saying, we're not standing for this, and just however many people did not, kind of follow you out the door, right, with this. And I think it is instructive to think about this voter ID push and going back to that moment. So I think it's a more widely accepted thing now. But at the time, their motivation for doing it was not really to clean up any sort of election integrity type of practices. Their motivation for it was partisan, purely partisan.
And we'll go out and do a little business here, but we come back. I'll tell you, after I actually left the building, the Capitol, I get a call. I'm in private business now, and I get a call at my coffee shop from a guy who is now running for higher office, Glenn Grothman. Called me on his personal, and the thing about Glenn, I'll at least give him this. He's not afraid to talk to you. I mean, he at least will go and talk to people. And what he said to me about that meeting, that closed caucus meeting that Dan and I were talking about, may surprise you. Maybe it won't. We'll talk about this. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show. Then it's the Dan Schaefer Show. It's a crossover show, but everybody's got pants on. Come on back. It's the Civic Media Radio Network. Yeah, thank you.
You know, oh, he's got his headphones off.
Clean.
I was just going to say that cross-dressing has the word dressing in it, which implies that you would still be wearing pants or something.
Without the hassle. Call 920-932-0000 today. Why wait?
Transform your outdoor space with David J. Frank, Wisconsin's award-winning landscape management company for 65 years. You've seen their beautiful work at Hilldale Shopping Center, from expert lawn care to seasonal flower
I found your
beds,
original
precise
Facebook
trimming
post
and
on that.
sustainable solutions.
That's what got me in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. This is, well, I was going down the rabbit hole. I was like, what was Todd's history with this? Where did this come out? There was like a interview you did on PBS, and then this, which is still out there in the world.
What is that?
Let's recombobulate. In the race for
all right. I'll
so
tell you
many
what I wrote
issues
that.
around the
Okay.
world, from reproductive rights to redistricting to even just
It still
basic
has.
checks and
There are
balances.
3,000
For
shares.
right-wing candidates,
It did all right.
Yeah.
For a little coffee shop owner.
Yeah, that's
back
right.
in 2016.
Here in Wisconsin, it
It's
seems like
16,
we
right?
all
Yeah.
know
Yeah, because it was right around the time when
affected by
Grothman went on
devastating opioid
on
addiction
TV the night of the Wisconsin
As
primary.
Wisconsin's
Yeah,
Attorney
we can talk
General,
about that.
exactly.
Kimmel refused to join multi-state lawsuits taking on opioid manufacturers. We now know these settlements are having a major impact, as new research shows that overdose deaths are declining significantly in Wisconsin.
Myself.
because of
Right.
funding
Population
from
minute
these
here.
settlements. You have to wonder if things might be
It's Dan
unfolding
Schaefer
differently had Schimmel been
recombobulating himself.
reelected in
Or
2018.
layers.
His
There's
lack
like
of
inception
action,
layers.
indifference to accountability on
30
this
seconds.
issue
Thank
can
you.
be seen as a real
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Glad to have you along with us. 9 before the hour of 2 o'clock at the top of the hour, ABC or CBS News, depending upon which of our great stations you're listening to. A weather update. Our sports reporter, Mike Clemens, the great Mike Clemens, with a sports update. By the way, I'll give you one right now. Kansas City 4, Brewers nothing, top of the second, opening day at AmFam Field. Not great. But hey, it's still early, bottom of the second. Also, we are right in the middle of our text to win contest, up for grabs this hour. An overnight stay at the lovely, the beautiful Chula Vista Resort in Wisconsin Dells. Check it out, Wisconsin Dells, Chula Vista Resort. Great partners. We appreciate them. You can be there if you are chosen at random by the computer. Just text the word NAP, N-A-P, N-A-P, N as in Nancy, A as in Apple, P as in Paul, NAP. Text it right now to the Civic Media app, and you'll also be eligible to win the grand prize of a Verlo mattress set, including bamboo sheets. Can't beat it with a stick, not even a bamboo stick. Right now, we're doing a little crossover show this half hour and into the next with our friend, our ongoing contributor, the political editor of Civic Media and the founder of the Recombobulation Area, Mr. Dan Schaefer. Dan, we appreciate you being here.
Always a joy to be here on the Allbaugh Show, and in person today as well, in Madison. Yes.
It's great. I love in person. I'm not a big Zoomer, as they say. So it's great to have you here, and we're going to continue our discussion here, and then I'm going to be on the Dan Schaefer Show, which is filling in for the John and Gordy Show in the afternoon, which is filling in for the Maggie Dawn Show next hour. And
All
you-
we need to know is you get more Todd today coming into the next.
But here's the deal. I look at his post last night. Who's going to be on his show next hour? And it's like, you got Eric Holder from the Obama administration. You got Ari Berman, great author. You've got Angela Lang. Who else you got?
And Ben Wickler.
And Ben Wickler, the chairman. And then there's Todd. And it's like I'm just here to make drinks for people. Ari Berman likes a good old fashioned.
Yeah, he does. He does. So we're excited for a great roster and excited to continue this conversation here with you on voter ID. So you were before the break here. You were sharing a bit on your what you witnessed when Wisconsin was starting down this path of requiring an ID to vote
Back in 2011. So I witnessed this closed caucus, a Senate Republican caucus, where they revealed in private that the real motivation wasn't to actually make sure voting had more integrity, but it was to make sure that people didn't agree with them, had a harder time to vote. Because back when I was coming up the Republican Party, the belief was that if our ideas are better and connect with a greater majority of the voters, we'll win. But Republicans are not stupid. They understand what's out there, and they started to understand even back in 2011, hey, this ain't real popular. We're not going to win on our ideas, so we have to make it more difficult for them to vote. In other words, we're going to make it harder. People forget here in Madison, the Department of Motor Vehicles, where you got your driver's license and state ID, was right by Hilldale Mall, kind of centralized on a bus line. During the Walker administration, after this went through, they purposely, and I know this because my former boss was on the State Building Commission, they purposely built a new DMV on the same site and didn't a Department of Transportation and did not include a motor vehicles office to renew things there. They moved it out to the far west side in almost the country off of a main bus line in Middleton to make it even harder for people in quote unquote liberal areas to get these requirements.
Yeah, it was rife with shenanigans all the way around. So, the goal here from a partisan standpoint, they wanted fewer people in Milwaukee who might not drive, right? A lot of people in Milwaukee who don't have a car, who don't drive, use public transportation, use other means to get around, and college students, right? So I think those are kind of the main constituencies that were targeted in that initial voter ID bill. And I think turnout was down in 2016. And I think this is one of those things that has improved over time. Like, I think even Susan Crawford mentioned this during the debate a couple weeks ago. She was talking about one of the things that she had brought forth or been a part of was, increasing access for IDs for people with disabilities, for other people who, this law may not have recognized that people might fall through the cracks, right? And so I think that is part of it too. And then there was this one real interesting moment that stood out in kind of like the history of the implementation of this, which was Glenn Grothman. In 2016, the night of the Wisconsin presidential primary, basically goes on TV with Charles Benson on TMJ4 and says, he was asked about Trump's chance of winning Wisconsin in the general election, and Grothman said, I quote, I think Hillary Clinton is about the weakest candidates the Democrats have ever put up, and now we have photo ID, and I think photo ID is going to make a little bit of a difference as well. So clearly, at the time, it was kind of this moment of saying the quiet part out loud for Mr. Grothman, who was saying similar things behind the scenes as you were able to witness.
Glenn doesn't drink very much, so it wasn't that he had too many. I can tell you that. That same election, I was outside of politics now. I had a small coffee shop, and I had a young barista named Miguel, who was, I believe, 22 at the time. Had never voted, originally from Los Angeles, California, was born there. For those that want to know, he was a born American citizen. And he was very excited. He was a big Bernie guy. I gave him time to go off to go vote. And he went to vote in that primary, and he came back demoralized. He had a valid California driver's license. And it used to be you could just take a valid driver's license from one state and go to and come to Wisconsin with that and switch it out. But because of that bill that became law under Walker that I saw being debated in that closed session of Congress or of State Senate, because that passed and Walker signed it into law, fast forward to 11 to 16, and Miguel Vega was not allowed to vote because he couldn't get his birth certificate back from California quick enough. I saw the actual result of what they wanted to prevent a young brown person from voting. And that pissed me off. And I took to Facebook and forgot that statewide media still followed me. I wish there were time to tell the rest of the story. Oh, wait, stay tuned. The Dan Schaefer Show is next. I'm going to be on it. I'll finish the story there. But first, text NAP, N-A-P, right now to your Civic Media app. We'll see you in a couple of minutes. And that